What's good, guys? So today's video is going to be focused on how to double your private event bookings. So this video is for my venue owners out there, my decorators, my caterers, bartenders, DJs, florists, you name it. These are people hosting weddings, baby showers, birthdays, corporate events, engagement parties, things like that. So I owned a venue in Chicago for about 2 years, so I have a little bit of experience in seeing the seasonality in the business, right? Like things kind of go in waves. There are points in time where I and my business partner relied on platforms like PeerSpace, Tag Venue, and other platforms that you've probably used as well to get more business, and we weren't aware of how we could generate business by ourselves. So I'll touch a little bit on how you could do that, and I'll also talk about what we've seen in the market working with different people. So currently now we work with venue owners, vendors. We also work with people that are actually looking for venues and vendors as well. So we have a little bit of experience from three sides actually, as venue owners ourselves, helping other venue owners and vendors, and then also helping people who are looking for help. And we run experiments across the United States. And I'll share a little bit of that actually. So let me pull my screen in here for you guys. Boom. So there's a huge opportunity in this market. Like, that's why you do this business, or that's why you're interested in this business, right? So we ran an experiment across the US for about 2 months, I want to say. And the data is amazing, right? So we saw the total event budget was $887,000, right? Across 2 months from 188 people who are interested in hosting an event. Now, if you just do a rough math, right? Let's say you take this budget and you're making a 10% profit on these events. I'm not saying you are necessarily going to host every single event, right? But just to show you the opportunity that exists in this market, right? The 10% commission on this is $89,000. And this is over a course of 2 months, like I said, right? 2 to 3 months, let's say. And that's a huge opportunity in this market, right? So, receive 188 proposals. We matched 72 people with venues. And just to give you an idea of what the potential budgets look like. So one, a lot of people were hosting weddings, as you can see here. So people that are hosting weddings are actually looking for the most help out there, right? They're the most lost. And I'll show also like what their timeline looks like, but they are also one of the harder people to help, right? Because it's more intense. It's more planning that goes into it. And it's more, thought. Like, you have to be more thoughtful about how you approach people that are trying to host events like a wedding. You also notice birthdays also comes up a lot, and the budget's quite nice as well. So this gives you an idea of the revenue potential that really exists in this space, right? And just to give you one more idea of what things people typically ask for, right? So tables and chairs, so furniture is huge. So for my furniture rental folks out there, furniture is huge. Event planners that are doing furniture as well, decorators who also have furniture as well, right? So everyone needs furniture, so that's top tier number one thing, right? Parking for venue owners, this is also something that people are bringing 100 people, 200 people, 50 people, right? Where are they going to park? How are they going to be like comfortable? Dance floor, outside food. Outside food is a very questionable one. Some venues like to, make money, and I get it. But you kind of have to strike the balance between policies that don't allow people to bring their own food and policies that do. Or you have to be inclusive, right? So I might want to do an Indian wedding, right? Or, Chinese wedding, whatever, right? And you have to make sure food for the people that are coming are available. And if you're going to restrict outside vendors, you got to make sure you can cover that, right? So, because otherwise no one's going to host with you, right? Restrooms, kitchen, obviously. So we saw data from 32 states across the US. So there is a huge opportunity in this market, again, just to let you know. With that all said, I'm just going to put this away. I just wanted to show you the opportunity in this market, like you already know exists, right? So just this gives you an insight of how we look at the marketplace, how we look at the private event industry in general, right? Like how we see the opportunity in this space. Now, you probably noticed, like I said earlier, we no longer own a venue, and now we're primarily focused on the other two sides of the experience, which is building resources for other venue owners and vendors, and also building resources for people that are looking for venues and vendors. And I'm gonna talk to 3 types of people on this video, most likely. These are people that are super early on. These are people that are like kind of middle experience, so 3+ years of knowledge. And then we have our veterans who are like, they've been in this industry for so long, they wake up and they breathe like making money in this industry, which is great. And everyone has different types of problems, and we'll touch on what that looks like, right? So the next thing I want to talk about is founder time invested, right? So you really have to think about how much time you're willing to invest in this space, right? Are you going to be going full-time running the business, right? Are you going to be a side business and having another full-time job? We've actually worked with a lot of people who have this as a side business and they actually have a full-time job. So, you know, people are across different spectrums when it comes to this industry. And then also some people are just considering it as a side project, right? Like they're not really like there yet. They're still kind of doing research online to figure out, is this the right industry? You know, is there an opportunity here? Should I do it? Should I not do it? So you really got to know where you're at, how much time you're willing to invest, because that does change, you know, the types of problems that you probably run into. You have to kind of lean into your strengths when you can. But then also, of course, right, there's some level of randomness, right? You can't really like control things. Like you might have bills to pay, so you might need to actually have a full-time job and put this on the side. Or, you know, you might have to wait before you can actually start the business, so you have to do more research, right? So just to touch on the types of problems that founders have. So this is really understanding your bottleneck. So if you want to double the amount of money you're making in the event industry, you have to really understand your bottleneck. Where is the problem, right? Like you have a funnel, a system in place essentially, and where is the problem? So the first thing that's very, very important is the product and the service you're selling. Okay, anything else that I say after this point will not matter if your product or your service sucks. If it sucks, then it just sucks, right? So you got to make sure that your product doesn't suck. So yeah, that's one big and important thing that you got to make sure is like doing really well. Like your product has to be the best like out there, quality wise, delivery wise, and speed. So like the way that you present it to people, not just the way that you present it, like the product itself needs to be amazing, right? Like if you are a venue, your venue needs to be spotless, right? It needs to be nice and clean. And it needs to be a place that you would want to bring your family to have a dinner, right? So think about it that way. Also the delivery, right? Like when you give it to people, you want to make sure it's clean, right? You want to make sure it's nice, it smells good, all the good things like that, right? Like if you're a decorator, you don't want to give people a linen that's like dirty, right? You have to give them linen that's like spotless, right? And that's what matters. The speed as well, right? Like you need to make sure like you're on time. So if you tell people they can come in at 3 p.m. for their event, make sure they can get in, not like 3:30 p.m., right? So that also matters, right? So the product, and this is an investment issue, so it could be a case of not having enough money to like buy the right products. It could be the case of not having enough time, right, to like do the right things, like speed, like responding late, or just like doing things wrong, right? So investment of money and time is important for this. The next thing I'll talk about is leads, right? So, okay, now you have a good product, let's assume, but now you need people to be interested in this product or service of yours. So this is where leads come in, and this is an advertising issue, right? So, and this could be in your local community or it could be online, right? But it doesn't matter either way, right? Like you have to make sure people are aware that you exist, right? Your business exists and you are trying to provide this service or product for people to take advantage of. The next thing is a website or lead capture. So, okay, it could be like you have the best advertising in the world, right? People know you exist, but then you're not organizing this information into like serious buyers, right? You don't know who's a serious buyer, who's a window shopper, who's just out here, a window shopper. Okay, you don't know who's really like serious about your business. And you need to figure that out. You need to filter this, right? So a website is one good way to do that. You have a lead form. Basically, it's a way for you to collect a person's name, their email, their phone number, their event date, you know, the number of people they're bringing, whatever else you want to ask them, like ask them up front. Other forms of lead capture, you could use Instagram or Facebook or TikTok and just DM people. But it's, you know, over time you want to organize that into like something more concrete, right? Yeah, so you need to figure out who your serious buyers are from the list of your leads. The next thing I'll talk about is booking conversion. And this is where the most people have the most problems. Because, yeah, right, you have a lot of window shoppers, a lot of people will come, but they will not buy for whatever reason. They probably didn't plan to buy. They were just like looking around, they were lost one day on Instagram scrolling, and then your website came up and then they clicked it and then they just left. You're right. So like some people are window shoppers, but the big things you have to focus on, and this is a sales problem or a product issue, right? So sales meaning like your sales process is not like enough to really push them over the edge, or your product wasn't really what they were looking for, or your service, right? So the first thing you really got to do, make sure is qualify the person, right? So a lot of people will come down your lead funnel. You want to make sure they're the right buyer for what you're selling, right? So do they have the right budget? Do they have the right size of people? You know, will they be a good fit for the services or product you provide, right? The next thing you got to do is nurture these people, right? And there are a lot of ways to hack this, growth hack this. A lot of like AI and automation stuff that you can think about, but like for now, we'll simplify it just to like literally just spending time with your, people that are interested in buying from you, answering questions about what you offer, providing more resources, providing more videos, photos, etc. Just so they're the most knowledgeable they could be about what you offer, right? So the more they know, the better off they are buying. And then the next thing that I put on this list is response time. Like you have to respond. If you're not there, you're done. Like that's just what it is. That's the world we live in. There are plenty of people that will host these folks for your events. If you don't respond, they're not gonna wait for you. They have a birthday to host. It's not about you, it's about them. It's their birthday. They're gonna figure it out. So you gotta show up for them as well. The next thing I'll talk about is operations. So this is a management issue, right? This is just like, and usually the people facing this issue are the veterans. So people that have been in business for so long, they're killing it, but like they also have a lot of like systems in place. But what ends up happening sometimes is they still find that there's some manual work that they keep having to do that's repetitive tasks, and it's just annoying. It's like, they're busy. They want to be on the yacht. They've been on the business for like 7 years. It's time to like retire. It's time to rack the money and not be stressed out and just like, hear the paychecks coming in. But usually the veterans are the ones facing this issue, and it's a management issue. It's just like a lot of manual work, not enough automation. So especially for people that are not super tech savvy, they find themselves kind of using the same thing they've been using for a long time, which is not an issue. If it works, it works. If it ain't broke, don't fix it. But sometimes, things advance, things get quicker, and there are ways for you to upscale your skills, or outsource it to somebody else who will do it for you, to make sure that work's no longer on your table. And it's just automated, right? So, and simple automations, right? Like reminders, right? Calendar and like reminders, right? Or like text message reminders, right? Or email reminders that go to you, that go to your clients, or your customers, and it goes to your team, right? Like, hey, we need cleaning on this day. Like things that are just automated, like so your team and everyone is aware of what's happening in the business without you having to be the person to tell people exactly what to do every single time, right? And that's what being a bottleneck is. A bottleneck is the business does not run without you. Like something will break if you're not there, or if this thing is not working, the whole business is done, right? So you don't want to be a bottleneck in your business. You want to set up a system that can work for you and educate the people around you enough to be able to self-serve themselves, right? Yourself, your team, and your customers. Like self-service is big. People can help themselves if you let them. So yeah, the next big thing that you really got to think about if you're really trying to double up is your goals. You really have to set a goal. If you don't have a goal, you don't know where you're going. So you have to make sure you have goals, right? So that's like monthly bookings, right? Like how many bookings do you want to get monthly? What is your current bookings monthly? We've talked to at least 500 venue owners over the past year, and when we ask this question, some people are kind of like, I don't know, like never thought about that one. It's like, like you have to have goals. You have to have goals. And I'm not saying this to knock on anyone, but if you want to double your revenue, you really have to know, okay, one, what is my current revenue? Two, how do I get to that next point, right? Like, what is that next point? And if you don't know what that next point is, it's hard to get there. So you got to know where you're going. So set a goal. It doesn't have to be the right goal. You don't even have to think about, try to be realistic, of course, but then still also Try to think about what other people are doing, and try to push yourself. The average booking value, right? So what is your current booking value? And what that means is what is the average best price that most of your customers buy. So like at some point, like maybe it's $1,000, maybe it's $2,000. Like that's the popular package. Like, like it's like a one size package, right? It's like, hey, you get everything, all inclusive or whatever the case may be, right? Like something that's like tried and true and tested that many customers keep coming back to buy from you. So what does that average booking look like? Really think about what that is and think about how to push that value up, right? That could be adding more services. That could be adding more value to the current services. Just thinking about how to push that needle up. And then you experiment, right, with a couple people and see if they're willing to pay. If they're not, then you can iterate, you can change it, tweak it, but always keep thinking about how to move that value up. And then the next thing is timeline to achieve, right? So if you set a goal, you have to know when you want to achieve it by. People go to school like university and there's a semester. And basically the way it's set up is it's a goal. Every 4 months you have the goal to pass your classes and you have a goal to learn certain things. So it's a goal, it's a timeline set on that to learn all the required material that you have to learn, right? So it's the same thing here, right? Set the timeline for when you're going to achieve your goal, and then you can reverse engineer like how you can chunk down your problems and try to solve them. The next thing is growth priorities, right? So we talked about all these things, right? If you find a bottleneck, then it's really about prioritizing. You can't solve everything. No one has enough time to solve every single thing, but sometimes you solve one thing and it changes everything. So really think hard about what's urgent and what's important. And that's how you really solve the problem, right? And I put this chart here because it's a little cute, but it's, just tells you like things that are urgent and important, you do it now. Things that are less urgent and important, you just schedule it, figure it out later. Things that are less important and urgent, you delegate it, right? It's like not super important, but it's urgent, it needs to be done. You don't really need to do it, but at some point it might bite you in the butt if you don't do it. Just delegate it. If it's not important, it's not urgent, get it out of here. You don't need it. Don't waste your time. I know I didn't like specifically give you like potion fix on how to double your revenue, but these are just things you need to think about, right? Like this is the funnel of people, right? And this is how people kind of fall down the line of your product. And you really have to understand where you're at in the business, which problem you're actually facing to know which thing you should focus your time on. And, we have a ton of videos and resources to help people who are in this industry. So if you are facing any of these issues that I laid out here, and you want to talk about it, and you just want to brainstorm, or you just want to pick your thoughts or see what we have in mind and how we could help you, reach out to me. We could talk about it. We can try to figure out something. But yeah, this is how you kind of push the boundaries of doubling up in your private event business, right? So continue to think about that. And if you have any questions, let me know. My name is Elijah from VenueBox, here to help you out. If you have any questions, again, like I said, hit me in the comments and we can talk more. Anyways, I hope you enjoyed, and I'll see you on the next one. Peace.